Alright guys, we're back with part 2 of the competitive Pokemon player analyzes the most broken Fakemons ever. I want to shout you guys out for all the support on part 1. Link will be in the description, my most successful video of all time. And hopefully this video gets as successful as that one, because we're going to be covering some even more broken threats for today. And I got to shout out the POA community for pushing my video in the first place. Without you guys, my video would have not reached, the traction that I got on the algorithm. But shout out to you guys. This video is dedicated to you. So we're going to be covering every single Fakemon. Well, not every single Fakemon, that will take way too long, but it's more like the ones that I saw from the POA decks that they have their own community of fake Pokemon that they've made. We'll be analyzing some of them as well, because some of these guys are so broken. I'm just like, it might not be on the level of Primal Arceus guys, but like these Mons, if they were in Scarlet and Violet OU, the tier would be run over, basically. That's all I have to say about this. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. We're back in Chaos OU. Let's get started. So the first Pokemon I want to cover is Suicune Supra here. Now, Suicune Supra, you're probably thinking, well, Mono Fire type, Suicune, this one can't be any crazy. But let's just wait until I cook a little bit, guys, because this Mon is completely broken. Shout out the Shaldorian for making this Pokemon here. You did a good job. But either way, it's a Suicune, same stat spread. For Gen 2 Mon is aged quite well, 115 in most defenses, decent special attack, 100 HP, and for Wall has a pretty good speed tier as well. But yeah, why is Suicune Supra a broken Mon? Why am I saying this Mon is crazy? Now let's look at its abilities first. It has Drought, and it has an interesting ability called Vaporization. Now, Vaporization is from Insurgents, but they added it onto their own fake one here. Now, Vaporization, if you thought Desolate Land was a broken ass ability on Primal Groudon, Vaporization just takes that to a brand new level. Now, it also cancels out water type attacks like Desolate Land, but also damages water type Pokemon every single turn Suicune's on the field. You're taking 12%. You know how much 12% is? That's taking rocks damage for just staying in against Suicune Super if you're a water type. So this is a fire type that cancels out one of its weaknesses, makes water types regret even coming in. And then it also has a signature move called Fiery Maelstrom, which summons Sun. There's no move in the game that can summon weather so far other than low damaging attack. Because someone's going to say, oh, Chilly Reception summons hail or snow. Yeah, this does damage and then summons the weather. You know how crazy that is? Like, Torkoal, Ninetales, unemployment in SVOU. This Mon would just become the Sunsetter, set up all the photosynthesis Mons, and just run away with games, basically. Like, you know how crazy this is? And then Fiery Maelstrom also does 20% extra damage if you're holding a Heat Rock. So you have everything just synergizing so well for yourself. You have a move that can set Sun, you run the item that boosts Sun turns, and it also boosts the damage of your signature attack by 20%. You know, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. You change Suicune from a defensive water type to an offensive fire type, which can actually beat water types. It's such good design, I'm not gonna lie. We also have Nasty Plot here, which can double your special attack. So you have the double special attack from Nasty Plot, you have the 20% boost from Fiery Maelstrom, you have the 50% boost to Sun on your stab. Yeah, you can see why I'm glazing this Mon quite a bit. Now, in terms of its coverage options, you're probably thinking its special move pool is somewhat barren, but at the same time, you still have things like Power Gem, Earth Power, Terrestrialization in, OU sense, where you can just Terra into like a Dragon type or a Grass type to hit Water type super effectively, and also just Terra Dragon would probably be better to hit Dragon type super effectively as well. But yeah, it also gets Eruption and Magma Storm if you guys want to, run some even more stronger fire type attack. This is the ultimate fire type attacker. Even Primal Groudon can't hold a candle to this. At least, like, if you're facing water types, 12% damage from Vaporization is insane. Just goes to show that the community have some crazy ideas in terms of wanting to make the strongest Pokemon of all time, and that's why it's easily just in Chaos OU. It's banned in the POA OU decks, which, to be fair, I don't blame them for. This Mon does a lot of damage and sets up Sun to even enable other Pokemon with photosynthesis or chlorophyll. But yeah, that is it for Suicune Supra, a very strong Pokemon, and yeah, the ability is crazy, the move is crazy, so what can I say. Now, moving on to another POA Dex Ubers Pokemon that they've created, we got Growlsome here. Now, Growlsome may not be as, shining as Suicune Supra here, but this is still a Pokemon that desires some respect. Shout out for Fistipuffs for making this. It gave me Perugly vibes the first time I saw it, because I was just like, it has a similar color scheme and all that, and yeah, it's just a fat cat. So I just saw Perugly straight away. I thought this might have been a Mega Perugly or like a different form or whatever. But either way, let's get into the stats. 540 base stat total, not the worst in the world, obviously, but it all matters where the stats are, you know, implemented. It has high HP, high attack, and decent speed to it. It doesn't really have much defenses, but when do they ever give high HP Pokemon high defenses unless they're like Lugia or whatever? So, you know, it has a decent enough bulk. So this is a Pokemon that has a lot of setup potential. It has Swords Dance, it has Close Combat, it has Crunch, and it has you know, either Return or Tail Slap. It has Knockoff. It has some really good coverage moves that I can use to get past its checks. Now, normal fighting is no slouch in terms of the coverage department. They complement each other very well. Fighting deals with you know, Rock and Steel, which normal is resisted by. Obviously, their inability to hit ghost types is handled by Crunch, and especially when you have a Crunch boosted by the Strong Jaw ability, which boosts biting moves by 50%. So now you get 120 base power Crunch, hitting ghost types, coming off of a pretty high attack stat. Like, I'm pretty sure this is Okidogi's attack stat, so, you know, and that can pretty much do well in Gen 9 formats really well. So it has all of that. It also has Tail Slap if you're assuming this is an SVOU and Return is no longer in the game. So obviously if you're running Tail Slap, you'll probably want like loaded dice to get the most out of it. I think it also has Body Slam and Double Edge, so if you don't want to run Tail Slap or loaded dice, you can just run any boosting item basically to increase your damage. Silk Scarf, Black Belt, whatever really. And yeah, this one will do a lot of damage. Now, you're probably thinking about Chaos OU standards. This one probably isn't anything too crazy, but at least in the POA decks, they had to ban this one because it does too much damage. So I can't really blame them for that. But yeah, overall, probably not the most flashiest Pokemon that we have to talk about today, but it's still a pretty strong one by any means. And it's also quite versatile as well. Like, if anything has U-turn and a decent speed tier, you know you're going to be running as a Choice Scarf. It has access to U-turn. It has, let's just say you have Double Edge because you want maximum damage. You obviously don't take too much recoil because you have a high HP stat. And then, yeah, this is just a pretty strong set to have as a Choice Scarfer. And, yeah, pretty versatile here. You could also go Choice Band and you'll be getting a lot out of this one. But yeah, Growlithe, pretty cool Pokemon. I like the design and, you know, it has a lot of versatility in its sets. Now, moving on to another Pokemon. This is a Mega Evolution we got here for the Pokemon Secrelon here. Mega Secrelon, shout out to Ru was here for designing this Pokemon. Now, this is another fighting type that has Scrappy, so even more Megalopody LARPing, if I do say so myself. But, yeah, this one is also very interesting. 579 BST. All the stats are in the right places. It has 115 speed, 135 attack. It's basically Megalopony, but with like 20 less speed. So it has a superior typing of flying and fighting, which historically has always been very good. You've seen Zapdos, Galar, you've seen Hawlucha, you've seen... I was going to say Tomahawk, like that mon is actually a canon Pokemon, but it is a Catmon, and it does have that typing, so you have to... Oh, Flamigo, that's who it was. Almost forgot Flamigo existed. That is also another fighting flying type with the ability Scrappy. So we all know how Scrappy works, does a lot of damage. You can hit ghost types with fighting type attacks, and then you're immune to Intimidate now in Generation 9. So yeah, why is this one kind of crazy to me? Because it has a signature move called Grounding Stomp, which is 85 base power, perfect accuracy, and it's super effective on poison type Pokemon. Now, having a fighting type being able to get past poison types, especially if you're lacking like Earthquake, for example, is a very strong thing. And yeah, just having a consistently accurate attack, like, because you don't get close combat, unfortunately, so you're either relying on Grounding, Stomp, or High Jump Kick for your damage output. We all know how High Jump Kick is, but at least you don't have to worry about flooding into ghost types due to your ability. But it's more like Protect can obviously outplay High Jump Kick and you'll lose half your HP. So yeah, having Grounding Stop as a consistent fighting attack that's also super effective against poison type. The coverage of the type super effectiveness of that is very strong. In terms of its flying type attacks though, unfortunately it is lacking in that department. It doesn't get Brave Bird, you know, so it has to rely on Dual Wing Beat. Now, Dual Wing Beat is not the weakest move in the world, but you know, you're missing that flying breaking power with Brave Bird. But to be fair, if something like this had Brave Bird, it'll probably be banned from the POA Dex formats. But it manages to make it into Chaos OU, so obviously it's not really missing Brave Bird all too much. So it has set up with Bulk Up too, so yeah, Grounding Stomp, Dual Wing Beat, you know, Bulk Up, and then in terms of your other coverage moves that you have, it is somewhat lacking there, but like you can get away with triple axle, blaze kick, you know, even low kick maybe. But at this point, your stabs are so strong, you don't really need too much coverage options. I think it gets roost. No roost either. Ooh. Yeah, okay. Interesting. But either way, just run any move in the 4th slot. Like, I don't think it really matters, to be honest. But yeah, this one has a very, very high attack stat, so it can get away with doing all of this stuff. But yeah, Mega Secrolon, definitely a pretty strong Pokemon. If it was in Scarlet and Violet OU, obviously, you have to realize that this thing has no item slot because of its Mega Stone, but at the same time it makes up for it. 115 speed is pretty decent, and you know, it's 1 point slower than Valiant, which kind of sucks, but to be fair, Valiant's always going to be boost energy, so it's going to outspeed and kill you anyway. But yeah, good speed tier. I think this one would be solidly OU. Ground and Stomp is a very spammable attack, so you know, you have all of that stuff. 4th Pokemon we're going to talk about here, we got Sinister Sickle here. Now, this is a Paradox form of Seviper, and Seviper has been one of the most underwhelming fully evolved Pokemon of all time. So, you know, how can you fix a Pokemon like Seviper? You know, you're probably going to say, give it more speed, give it more attack. Well, Mad0130 gave Seviper more attack, more special attack, more speed, and I think this is enough to save the Pokemon, to be honest. Like, this one is in Chaos OU and also POA Dex OU as well, so obviously the Mon got saved by giving it extra stats. Now, it's a Photosynthesis Mon, so obviously you can run Booster Energy, and it's also a Poison Flying type, so it has Acrobatics as stab, and you know, with Booster Energy Acrobatics, you basically don't have to run Brave Bird, which it doesn't get anyway, but Acrobatics with Item List, very, very strong attack. Like a Seviper, it gets Coil, so if you go speed boosting with Photosynthesis, you can go Coil. Acrobatics will do a whole lot of damage, to be honest. You also have Gunk Shot as stab, which is pretty strong against fairy types, obviously. And then in terms of your last move, either is Roost, Knockoff. In terms of Poison Flying, your inability to hit steals is noted, and you don't really get anything to really help out with that because Fire Fang is a weak as hell move. So Knockoff is probably your best bet, and you can go max special, max attack, max speed. But if you do want to get that boost in speed, you're going to have to go maximum speed, 224 attack EVs, so you have 1 less than your speed. Then you get the speed boost. And 334 is no slouch in terms of damage. Like, it's not too high, but at the same time, you have something to boost that attack stat even further, so you can obviously make up for that. But I think the more interesting thing here is the special setting up sets, which, to be fair, don't have that issue of not being able to hit steel type Pokemon. So it has Calm Mind as the boosting option. In terms of its special stab, it also has a signature move called Severing Wind. Now, it has a high crit ratio. Again, doesn't really matter, to be fair, unless you want to go Scope Lens Severing Wind and have a 50% chance of critting every turn, but it doesn't really matter. It has a 20% chance of lowering the target's special defense stat. Now, 20% isn't too high. It's not like Seed Flare, you know, and it's not a -2 drop, but at the same time, that could be really good in wall breaking certain threats that can actually take your attacks. So Severing Wind is your main stab. You're not using Hurricane. Fuck Hurricane. We all hate Hurricane around here. But you also get Flamethrower like Seviper as well. So you're actually able to hit steel types for super effective. And then your special poison stab is Sludge Wave. So yeah, this is a very threatening Pokemon indeed. Obviously you're going to switch the EVs around here, and yeah, I'm happy that Seviper has been made into a usable Pokemon, because the Mon overall has been pretty underwhelming over the years. Yeah, other than that, yeah, it does lack Earthquake like Seviper does. Seviper does get access to moves like Giga Drain and Earthquake, which this Mon is missing, but at the same time, it doesn't really need Earthquake, especially on the special side. But the physical side would probably appreciate a bit more options in terms of hitting steel types, you know, harder. But at the same time, this one is kind of crazy as well, even if you don't want to, you know, go for your setup sets here, because it has Defog, it has Glare. I mean, it's not bulky by any means. Like, this is still a Seviper, it's not bulky, but you know, you still have some pretty good utility options that you can get away with for sure. But yeah, Sinister Sickle, easily OU, I think. No doubt about that. Is a boost energy Mon, and to be fair, that's not the biggest indication of OU usage if you're a boost energy Mon, but you have the stats to make it work. And yeah, you're pretty threatening on both attacking sides, and you will never really know what it is until it actually attacks. So yeah, easily OU in my opinion. Now moving on to the 5th Pokemon here, probably the most broken one we're going to cover for today's video. Mega Delta Sceptile. Now, this one's even banned from Chaos OU, so you know we're getting into some crazy shit here, guys. But yeah, it has no guard, dragon fighting type, basically Mega Sceptile's stat spread of 145 special attack, 145 speed. This easily outspeeds anything in OU, excluding Choice Scarf and Booster Energy shenanigans, of course. But yeah, no guard, we all know what no guard does for a special fighting type. No guard focus blast. This is absolutely insane work here. And if you do want to go on the physical side, which Mega Sceptile here does have a decent attack stat of 110, you have no guard dynamic punch. So yeah, you're LARPing as Machamp, and then you're in your own zone with no guard focus blast. So yes, focus on the special attacking side first, because it has 145 special attack. Now it gets Calm Mind as a boosting option, which, you know, is a pretty solid start, all things considered. It's not like there's a special Dragon Dance, so Calm Mind is probably the best thing you get. You have Focus Blast here, which never misses. You have Fire Blast, which never misses. And then, obviously, you have Draco Meteor as your stab, which never misses. So yeah, this is a very dangerous Pokemon. You can actually afford to run Modest, I guess, in certain situations. You're going to be slower than Zamazenta if you don't run, you know, Timid, for example. But at the same time, if you don't care about Zamazenta, get to that 427 special attack stat, get above 600 at +1, and then start killing everything, you know. So yeah, very scary Pokemon here. This is all it's gonna run. It is a dragon fighting type, so its inability to hit fairy types has to be noted. But Fire Blast at +1 is still a pretty solid option to have. Also can't really Terra, so, you know, because it's a Mega Evolution, so you have to take that into account. In terms of the physical side, you get Dragon Dance, Dynamic Punch. What else has to be said? You get that, and, you know, Confusion. It may not be 50% anymore like it was before Generation 7, but, you know, it's still a crazy move to have. That never misses and can actually just hack your opponent pretty well. On the physical side, it also has ways of hitting fairy types with a Poison Jab. And then you have, in terms of your Dragon Stab, what do you even have? Dragon Claw, obviously. But you also have a pretty interesting move that comes from Pokemon Insurgents called Draco Jet, which is basically a Dragon type quick attack. So if you're thinking, well, I don't really need Dragon Stab really because it's only super effective against Dragon types, at least have that priority move to revenge kill a lot of Pokemon that stand in your way. And I probably would just go Jolly on this. Adamant would obviously increase your damage output quite a bit, but you know, I guess you could go Adamant if you're running priority with Draco Jet. So yeah, overall, would this get banned from SVOU? I think this would probably cheese some games, I'm not gonna lie, with Dragon Dance Dynamic Punch. Like, that would be absolutely hilarious. The special side as well seems pretty hard to switch into if you don't have a fairy type, so could potentially be banned, but who knows. Power Creep is kind of crazy, but this is a mon that would easily be the fastest mon in OU, and you know, has the stats to back it up. But yeah, last Pokemon I want to cover here, we got Tinkershank here. Now, it sounds like a crazy ass name, Tinkershank, but it hasn't even a moving sprite, so they really went all out with this design. It basically has Guts' like sword at this point, but it's a more offensively inclined Tinkerton. I think it has the same base stat total, slightly higher. I think it has slightly higher. Tinkerton has 506, so you lose 4 base stat total. Whoop. Not the biggest loss, but yeah, it has sharpness and it has a signature move called Megaton Slice, which does sound like Gigaton Hammer and is obviously a lot weaker than Gigaton Hammer, but this is a move that gets boosted by your ability 50%, so it is basically stronger than Gigaton Hammer. So yeah, Steel Dark typing, we've seen King Gambit, you know, put in work with this type. We've seen Bishop put in work with this type for many years now. But yeah, having a super strong move like that, obviously you can't spam it, but you know, you also have pretty solid coverage options in Sacred Sword, getting boosted by sharpness, and you also have a Psycho Cut to hit fighting types for super effective damage. So yeah, this is a more offensively inclined Tinkerton. It doesn't seem anything too crazy by the numbers, but this one made it into Chaos OU, so you know, you can never underestimate anything that's in Chaos OU, because there's like 100+ Pokemon in Chaos OU. But yeah, that's the last one we want to talk about here. I don't think there's anything else to mention about this one. It'll be a decent attacker. I don't think it would be an OU, probably like UU or something like normal Tinkerton, but I could be proven wrong, you know. This one can do a lot of damage with sharpness. We've seen Gallade become a Pokemon that is pretty hard to switch into just due to that ability, having that ability in general. And you also have a stronger move than Stab Sacred Sword, so it's going to do a lot of damage basically. But yeah, want to thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you guys want to see a part 3, we're going to cover even more Pokemon. There's a lot more broken Pokemon to cover, even in the POA decks exclusively. There's a lot of Pokemon in Ubers I didn't cover here, but I wanted to kind of vary it between having some Ubers, having some OU Pokemon. But yeah, Suicune Supra, Mega Delta Sceptile, these mons will be absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.